Hello, and welcome to my channel. Tonight, I invite you to join me on a journey full of mysteries and imagination. This is your time to relax, forget the worries of the day, and let your mind wander with the story of our Earth. I hope that by the end of this video, you'll feel calm, peaceful, and ready to drift into a deep, restful sleep. Sweet dreams, my friends.
The reading voice is gentle, slow, and puts the listener to sleep. Tonight, we explore a fascinating question. What if the Earth stopped spinning? Imagine oceans shifting, skies changing, and life transformed forever. As you listen, let curiosity guide you, and may this journey help your mind relax, preparing you for a peaceful, restful sleep.
For billions of years, our Earth has been spinning non-stop. A complete rotation takes about 23 hours and 56 minutes. This is what gives us day and night. Every plant, every animal, every civilization has existed under this rhythm. But what if one day this rotation suddenly stopped? What would happen to the oceans, the atmosphere, and to us? Could humanity survive? Or would Earth become a frozen, lifeless planet? Tonight, we will embark on a journey of imagination, a scientific thought experiment that sounds impossible, yet teaches us more about our home planet. We will explore every consequence: gravity, oceans, atmosphere, weather, and human survival. Imagine this. You're standing on a beach on a sunny day. Suddenly, in less than a blink, Earth's rotation halts. The oceans, the air, even you, would be hurled eastward at more than 1,600 kilometers per hour. A nightmare begins. In this 2-hour video, our journey will be divided into clear chapters. 1. Understanding Earth's current rotation. 2. What if Earth slowed down gradually? 3. What if Earth stopped instantly? 4. Impacts on oceans, atmosphere, and disasters. 5. Effects on humans and living beings. 6. The long-term scenario. 1 day equals 1 year. 7. Comparisons with other planets. 8. Could Earth really stop spinning? Are you ready to dive into one of the most fascinating what-if scenarios of all time? If yes, let's begin.
The Earth has been rotating for about 4.5 billion years, ever since it was formed from a massive cloud of dust and gas. This constant spin is something we take for granted, but it defines almost every aspect of life as we know it. At the equator, Earth rotates at about 1,670 kilometers per hour. That's over 1,000 miles per hour. Imagine standing on a giant merry-go-round, spinning endlessly in space. That's essentially what's happening right now. But why does the Earth spin at all? The answer lies in its birth, when the cloud of dust and gas collapsed under gravity. Conservation of angular momentum caused the newborn planet to spin. Over billions of years, the spin has slowed slightly, mainly because of the gravitational pull of the moon, which creates tides. Scientists estimate that Earth's day lengthens by about 1.7 milliseconds per century. It's a tiny change, but over millions of years it adds up. The Earth's rotation is not just about day and night. It controls weather patterns, stabilizes the climate, and even influences the magnetic field. Without rotation, the Coriolis effect wouldn't exist, meaning winds, ocean currents, and storms would behave very differently. Life as we know it depends on this delicate balance. Take a moment to realize, right now, as you sit or stand, you're actually moving at hundreds of meters per second eastward thanks to Earth's spin. We don't feel it because the atmosphere, the oceans, and the land are all moving together with us. If this spin were to slow down significantly, the consequences would be profound. But before we imagine that doomsday scenario, we need to fully understand what Earth's rotation does for us every single day. Day and night, the alternation of light and darkness, all stem from rotation. Without rotation, one side of the planet would bake under eternal sunlight, while the other would freeze in endless night. The spin also interacts with Earth's molten iron core, helping sustain the magnetic field. This magnetic field shields us from deadly solar radiation, making life possible. In short, the Earth's rotation is the hidden rhythm of life. We don't see it, we don't feel it, but without it, everything collapses. Let's first imagine a less violent scenario. What if Earth's rotation didn't stop instantly, but slowed down over millions of years? At first, we might not even notice the change. Days would become slightly longer, maybe by just a few seconds over centuries. But as time goes on, these seconds add up. One day might last 25 hours, then 30, then 50, and eventually thousands of hours. Imagine living in a world where the sun rises once every few weeks. Plants would struggle to adapt. Some would burn under endless sunlight, while others would freeze during long nights. Farmers could no longer rely on normal growing cycles. Agriculture would collapse, unless humanity found artificial solutions. Animals, too, depend on day-night rhythms. Migratory birds, insects, and even humans would face massive biological stress. Long days would also mean extreme temperatures. During the extended day, deserts could heat up far beyond survival levels. During the endless night, temperatures could plummet below freezing across much of the globe. Winds and ocean currents would shift dramatically. Without fast rotation, the Coriolis effect weakens. Storms like hurricanes would become rare, but other weather patterns could become more destructive. Ocean water would migrate toward the poles, because the centrifugal force of rotation would weaken. This would expose land near the equator, creating new continents, while flooding areas closer to the poles. Humanity might adapt with technology, artificial lighting, climate-controlled habitats, genetically modified crops. But the stress on ecosystems would be enormous. Extinction rates could skyrocket. Civilizations would need to rethink time itself. Instead of 24-hour days, calendars might measure time in weeks of daylight and weeks of darkness. Religions, cultures, and human psychology would all transform in ways we can hardly imagine. In this slower spinning Earth, life might continue, but it would be an alien world compared to the one we know today.
Now let's move to the most dramatic scenario. What if Earth stopped spinning instantly in a single moment? At the equator, the surface is moving eastward at about 1,670 kilometers per hour. That's faster than the speed of sound. If Earth stopped instantly, everything not anchored to solid rock would keep moving at that speed. Buildings, trees, people, oceans, all would be flung eastward in a massive global catastrophe. Imagine cars, trains, even entire cities ripped apart as the surface beneath them stops, but they don't. The atmosphere, too, is rotating with Earth. If the ground stops, but the air keeps moving, we would face winds stronger than any hurricane in history. Supersonic winds would flatten forests, tear apart mountainsides, and turn dust and rocks into deadly projectiles. The oceans, which also have momentum, would surge violently. Entire coastlines would be erased by mega tsunamis, hundreds of meters tall, sweeping across continents. Imagine New York, Tokyo, or London swallowed in walls of water, moving at jet speed. Gravity would still hold us, but without rotation, Earth would lose its bulge at the equator. Over time, oceans would migrate toward the poles, flooding high latitudes and exposing new land at the equator. Life, if it survived the initial disaster, would need to adapt to an entirely reshaped planet. The magnetic field, sustained by Earth's rotation and liquid core dynamics, might weaken or vanish. Without it, solar radiation would bombard the surface, stripping away the atmosphere and oceans over millions of years. The day-night cycle would also change permanently. One side of Earth would face the sun constantly, becoming a desert world of fire. The other side would be locked in endless darkness, freezing into an ice-covered wasteland. Only the twilight zone between day and night might remain habitable, a thin strip of survival. Humanity would be scattered, struggling to build shelters, generate artificial light, and maintain food supplies. Civilization as we know it would collapse almost instantly.
Governments, economies, and technologies would be powerless against such global destruction. In essence, if Earth stopped spinning instantly, it would not just be a disaster, it would be the end of the world as we know it.
The instant halt of Earth's rotation would trigger immediate and terrifying consequences, first in the oceans and then in the atmosphere. First, let's start with the oceans. Normally, rotation creates a bulge of water around the equator, caused by centrifugal force. If the Earth stopped, this bulge would collapse. Trillions of tons of water would flow toward the poles. Coastlines in high latitudes like Canada, Northern Europe, and Siberia would be swallowed by rising seas. Meanwhile, regions near the equator, such as Central Africa or Brazil, would dry out and reveal new land. But before this redistribution happens, the sudden stop would trigger unimaginable tsunamis. Walls of water, hundreds of meters high, would sweep across continents, destroying everything in their path. Entire cities would vanish beneath the waves. Survivors, if any, would be stranded on isolated highlands. Now let's turn to the atmosphere. Just like the oceans, the air is in motion due to Earth's rotation. When the ground suddenly halts, the atmosphere continues moving. This would unleash supersonic winds, faster than any jet plane. Imagine winds tearing through forests, ripping apart skyscrapers, and scouring entire landscapes clean. Dust, rocks, and debris would become deadly missiles, traveling at incredible speed. The heat generated by friction could ignite massive firestorms across continents. And this chaos would not last just minutes. The atmosphere could take weeks or months to stabilize. During this time, storms of unimaginable scale would rage across the planet. Lightning storms, supercell tornadoes, and endling rain would devastate ecosystems. Meanwhile, earthquakes would also be triggered. Earth's crust is in delicate balance with the planet's rotation. A sudden stop would redistribute stress violently. Fault lines would rupture. Volcanoes might erupt worldwide, and tectonic chaos would ensue. In a single day, Earth could experience more natural disasters than in the last 1,000 years combined. For humanity, survival would depend entirely on luck and location. Those near coastlines would almost certainly perish in tsunamis. Those in open plains would be swept away by supersonic winds. Only a few, perhaps deep underground or in reinforced shelters, might endure the first wave of destruction. But even then, the long-term chaos of oceans and atmosphere would make survival nearly impossible. In short,
The stopping of Earth's spin would transform the planet into a storm-ravaged, flooded, and burning world. Not just an apocalypse, but a reset of the entire Earth system. Beyond the chaos of oceans and atmosphere, the greatest question remains: what would happen to life itself? Humanity has always adapted to extreme environments, from frozen tundras to scorching deserts. But a stopped Earth would create conditions unlike anything we have ever faced. Let's begin with humans. The immediate disaster would kill billions within hours. Tsunamis, winds, earthquakes, and firestorms would leave little chance of survival. Those who survived the initial chaos would face an even harsher challenge: the new environment. Without rotation, Earth would have one side permanently facing the sun and the other in endless darkness. On the sun-facing side, temperatures would soar high enough to boil rivers and melt asphalt. On the dark side, the cold would be unbearable, far below freezing, locking oceans under thick ice. Human settlements would collapse. Cities would become uninhabitable in days. Survivors would likely migrate to the twilight zone, the narrow strip between day and night. Here, temperatures might be bearable, with dim sunlight or faint starlight. But resources would be scarce. Food, clean water, and energy would be limited. Agriculture would collapse without stable cycles of day and night. Humans might resort to underground farms, artificial lighting, and lab-grown food. But even with technology, survival would mean living like refugees on a broken planet. Now let's consider animals. Migratory species, like birds and whales, depend on Earth's rotation and magnetic field for navigation. If the magnetic field collapsed, their migration patterns would fail, leading to mass die-offs. Insects that rely on sunlight cycles for reproduction would vanish. Predators would starve as ecosystems collapsed around them. Only a few hardy species might survive in isolated pockets, perhaps deep-sea creatures, underground insects, or extremophiles. Forests would burn on the day side, while on the night side they would freeze into lifeless ice sculptures. Oceans, once teeming with life, would become deserts of steam and ice. For humans, survival would also mean facing psychological collapse. Imagine living in eternal sunlight, never experiencing night, or in endless darkness, never seeing the sun again. Circadian rhythms, the biological clock, would break down. Sleep disorders, hallucinations, and depression would spread like new plagues. Communities would fracture under stress as survival instincts clash with morality. In short, life on a stopped Earth would be possible only for the strongest, luckiest, and most adaptable. But even then, the world they inherit would be unrecognizable compared to the one we know today. Imagine that instead of stopping instantly, Earth gradually slowed until one rotation took an entire year. This would mean one side of the planet experiences 6 months of continuous daylight, followed by 6 months of continuous darkness. Let's explore how such a world would look. During the 6-month day, the sun would slowly crawl across the sky. Temperatures would rise relentlessly. Crops and forests would wither. Rivers and lakes would evaporate into the atmosphere. Deserts would expand, covering much of the sunlit hemisphere. In contrast, the 6-month night would bring plunging temperatures. Oceans would freeze near the surface. Snow and ice would cover continents. Only the ocean's depths, still warm from Earth's core, might harbor life. The atmosphere would also change. Without daily rotation, winds would flow differently. Gigantic convection currents would dominate, hot air rising on the day side, cold air sinking on the night side. This circulation would generate constant planet-wide storms along the twilight belt. The twilight zone, the narrow band between eternal day and eternal night, would become the last refuge for life. Here, temperatures might stay within survivable ranges, though violent weather would be constant. Humans would build cities along this zone, always moving to follow the habitable strip. Civilization would become nomadic on a planetary scale. Agriculture would need reinvention. Some regions could farm during the long day, harvesting quickly before the deadly heat arrives. Others would rely on underground farms, powered by artificial light during the long night. Animals would either migrate endlessly, chasing the twilight, or adapt to extreme conditions. Some species might evolve nocturnal adaptations for the endless night, while others develop resistance to scorching sunlight. Human culture would change profoundly. Calendars would no longer be divided into 24-hour days, but into phases of day and night lasting months. Festivals, religions, and daily routines would revolve around the great day and the great night. Psychologically, humans would struggle. 6 months of unending sunlight could cause insomnia, madness, and exhaustion. 6 months of darkness could trigger depression, fear, and even cultural collapse. Technology would be humanity's only salvation. Giant solar farms to capture energy during the day, nuclear and geothermal power for the night. Space travel might even become necessary. Some might look to colonize other planets rather than endure this hostile Earth. In the end, life could persist, but it would be utterly transformed. Earth would no longer be the blue, balanced world we know, but a planet of extremes, half fire, half ice, with a narrow twilight line of survival.
After imagining all these catastrophic scenarios, one question naturally arises. Could Earth ever really stop spinning? The short answer is no, at least not in the foreseeable future. Earth's rotation began 4.5 billion years ago when the planet formed from swirling clouds of gas and dust. Conservation of angular momentum, a fundamental law of physics, keeps it spinning. Nothing in the solar system is capable of stopping Earth suddenly. Even colossal asteroid impacts would only slightly alter its speed or tilt, not bring it to a halt. However, Earth's rotation is slowing, but extremely slowly. Tidal forces from the Moon act like brakes, gradually transferring Earth's rotational energy to the Moon's orbit. As a result, days are lengthening by about 1.7 milliseconds per century. That means hundreds of millions of years from now, days will indeed be longer. But by then, humans may no longer exist on Earth. Eventually, in theory, Earth could reach a state called tidal locking. This is when one side of Earth always faces the sun, just as one side of the Moon always faces Earth. But such a scenario would take billions of years. By that time, the sun itself will have evolved, expanding into a red giant and engulfing Earth. In other words, Earth will be destroyed by the sun long before it could ever stop spinning naturally. Could advanced technology ever stop the rotation? Theoretically, if a civilization were powerful enough to manipulate planetary-scale forces, it might. For example, using enormous thrusters, gravity manipulation, or stellar engineering. But the energy required would be beyond comprehension. Stopping Earth's rotation would require canceling an amount of angular momentum equal to about 2.14 times 10 to the 34 joules. That's more energy than the sun emits in a week. No known or even imagined technology could achieve this without destroying Earth in the process. So, scientifically speaking, Earth will never stop spinning in any sudden or catastrophic way. The scenarios we discussed belong to the realm of thought experiments, not future predictions. Yet, these what-if stories are valuable. They help us understand the delicate balance that makes life on Earth possible. And they remind us how unique and fragile our planet truly is. While the idea of Earth stopping its rotation feels terrifying, in our solar system, similar conditions already exist. Let's compare Earth to its planetary neighbors. First, Venus. Venus rotates extremely slowly. One full rotation takes about 243 Earth days. That means a day on Venus is longer than its year, which lasts only 225 Earth days. On top of that, Venus rotates backward compared to most planets.
This slow, strange rotation contributes to its hellish climate, temperatures around 465 degrees Celsius, enough to melt lead. Venus shows us what happens when rotation and atmosphere combine in extreme ways. Next, Mercury. Mercury is very close to the Sun, and for a long time scientists thought it was tidally locked, always showing the same face to the Sun. But in reality, Mercury rotates 3 times for every 2 orbits around the Sun. This creates days lasting about 59 Earth days, still incredibly long compared to Earth. As a result, Mercury experiences extreme temperature swings, boiling hot on the day side, freezing cold on the night side. This is very similar to what Earth might face if it stopped spinning. Now let's consider the Moon. The Moon is tidally locked with Earth, meaning the same side always faces us. Because of this, one lunar day, from sunrise to the next sunrise, lasts about 29.5 Earth days. Like Mercury, the Moon has no thick atmosphere to distribute heat. This leads to brutal conditions: scorching heat of 127 degrees Celsius in sunlight and freezing cold of minus 173 degrees Celsius in darkness. The Moon is a perfect example of what happens without rotation and without a protective atmosphere. Let's not forget exoplanets, worlds beyond our solar system. Many of them orbit very close to their stars, making tidal locking common. Astronomers believe that billions of planets in our galaxy always show the same face to their stars. On these worlds, just like our stopped Earth scenario, one side burns while the other freezes. The only habitable region would likely be the twilight zone, a strip of eternal dawn. This raises a fascinating thought. If life can adapt there, could intelligent civilizations evolve on such planets? Comparing Earth to these worlds makes us appreciate how special our planet is. We live on a world that spins fast enough to create stable day-night cycles, yet not too fast to destroy us. This balance is rare and perhaps essential for complex life. In the grand cosmic scale, Earth may be one of the lucky few planets where rotation, distance, and atmosphere align perfectly to support life.
After all the destruction we have imagined, one question remains. If Earth truly stopped spinning, could humanity survive? Survival would be nearly impossible, but not entirely hopeless. Let's explore possible strategies. First, relocation. The twilight zone, that narrow strip between day and night, would be the only habitable region. Humanity would have to migrate massively, abandoning most of the planet and concentrating in this fragile belt. Cities would rise along this line, forming a continuous band of civilization around Earth. Second, technology. Artificial agriculture would be essential.
Massive underground farms with artificial lighting could provide food during endless night. Solar farms on the day side could harvest energy, while nuclear and geothermal plants sustain the night side. Humanity would need global cooperation on an unprecedented scale. Third, adaptation. Humans may eventually evolve to withstand extreme conditions. Genetic engineering could accelerate this. Skin resistant to radiation, metabolism adapted to long days and nights, even new sleep cycles. Some might live permanently underground or underwater, avoiding deadly heat and cold. Fourth, space exploration. A stopped Earth might push humanity to look beyond the planet. Colonies on the Moon, Mars, or artificial space habitats could become our lifeboats. This would require technology far beyond what we have today, but survival has always driven innovation. Finally, culture and psychology. Survival would not only depend on food and shelter, but also on maintaining hope and unity. Communities in the eternal day would have to endure heat and radiation. Those in eternal night would face depression and fear of the dark. Shared myths, new religions, and cultural traditions could emerge to help people cope. Perhaps humanity would learn to live as a twilight species, forever chasing balance between extremes. The world would never be the same, but survival is in our nature. We conquered ice ages, deserts, and plagues. If Earth stopped spinning, we would face our greatest challenge yet, and perhaps our greatest transformation.
We have traveled through an extraordinary thought experiment. What if Earth stopped spinning? From towering tsunamis to endless days and nights, from burning cities to frozen oceans, we imagined a world both alien and terrifying. We saw how humans might fight to survive, clinging to the twilight zone, relying on technology, culture, and unity. And we learned that while such a scenario is almost impossible, it teaches us profound truths. First, it shows us how fragile Earth's balance really is. Our planet spins at just the right speed, tilted at just the right angle, orbiting at just the right distance from the Sun. Change any of these factors, and life as we know it could not exist. Second, it reminds us of our resilience. Humanity has always faced impossible odds, yet we adapt, innovate, and survive. The stopped Earth scenario may be fiction, but it reflects a truth. Our ability to endure hardship defines us. Third, it urges us to care for our living planet. We don't need Earth to stop spinning to face catastrophe. Climate change, deforestation, and pollution are already pushing our world to dangerous extremes. In a sense, we are already living in our own what-if scenario. The lesson is clear. Earth is unique, fragile, and irreplaceable.
We must protect it, not only for ourselves, but for future generations. So the next time you look at the rising sun or the starry night sky, remember this. It is Earth's steady spin that gifts us day and night, seasons and life. It is a rhythm billions of years old, a cosmic heartbeat that sustains us all. And perhaps the greatest what if is not about Earth stopping, but about what humanity will choose to do while it still spins. Will it protect it, or will it let it fall into ruin? The answer, unlike our thought experiment, is not fiction. It is in our hands.
Thank you for spending your time with me on this journey. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your support means so much. And now, I wish you a calm mind, sweet dreams, and a good night's sleep. See you next time.